kind of like finding your way in a world that you have no idea of how it works, to a global company now with more than 300 people is pretty mind-blowing. You kind of have to play a role at a certain point in time when you reach a certain size, and you're like, damn, what happened? We created a monster.
Yeah, you don't know everything. I think that also is signs of a great leader.
So I feel that authenticity about like just good people, it's something very easily said, but it's not so common always. 50 to 100 people, I think they have been instrumental in shaping what Frontify really is in the DNA.
I mean, that's really the essence of brand.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. We developed that vision over time, and we had a way better understanding of where you want to go, because in the early days you just try different things, you don't really know, some stuff is working, some is not, so you need a little bit of time to understand what you truly want to do.
Where does Frontify fit into all of this? Short term, long term, what's your kind of vision for the future? When we first met Roger, we were blown away by his honesty and humbleness regarding his now international global company. From a guy with a small idea to a now 300 plus business with offices in London, Switzerland and New York, it has and continues to be an incredible journey for him and his team. So let's jump right into one of the most insightful and honest videos we have had the pleasure to be a part of.
Flat booklets, generic PDFs, lifeless digital hubs. Brand guidelines have always stayed the same, but things are about to change. Frontify is adding a whole new dimension to guidelines, giving you the tools to make your guidelines as unique as your brand, offering more creative freedom than ever before, while retaining consistency and control. Welcome to the new dimension of brand guidelines, where everything about your guidelines can be tailored and themed to your brand, creating a more unique and inspiring experience from start to finish, where you can freely build whatever you want your guidelines to contain, helping prepare for a future of new brand opportunities in motion, 3D, AI, and much more. Where modifying your guidelines is a collaborative effort from not only within your brand, but between all brands. Share what you've built, learn from others, create and integrate more engaging experiences. Frontify's new marketplace is a shared ecosystem of brand innovation. It's a small step for a brand, but a giant leap for brand kind. Step into the collaborative universe of Frontify.
What's good, everybody, and welcome to an extra special edition of the Brand Review. We have done a little bit of traveling today, and we are in London to meet Roger Dudler from Frontify. He has kindly invited us over to his lovely studio here, and it is my pleasure to sit with him for the next maybe 40 minutes or so. Let's see how it looks in the edit, to have a little chat about Frontify and its history, where it's going, and find out a little bit more about the man himself behind Frontify. So without further ado, hello.
Hello. Great to have you over here.
It is awesome to be here, man. And the awesomeness leads me directly into my first question, which is, man, like, you just arrived today as well.
Yes, I may look a bit tired, but it's fine.
You look
We would have had it easier. You guys are in Germany, and we're in Switzerland, but we have to meet in London to make it happen.
Crazy. But for me,
which is amazing.
It's really cool for me to come back to my home country.
Obviously.
As well. And also, Jan is not in the video today, but he's accompanied me. He's behind the camera over there, and it's nice to actually bring Jan to the UK as well. So that's also been really nice. It's unbelievable that you're here. Like, Jan and I were walking around the streets, and I mean, it's testament to yourself. 10 years in, and we already talked, because we spent some time at the ADC festival this year, where we were talking together about AI in branding. But you also shared some of your story as well from the last 10 years and where you came from. And yeah, that journey must have been incredible, from just you doing what you were doing with this amazing idea and shaping it and forming it, and to where you are today. So my first question really is, how has that journey been so far?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I think it's hard to describe really, because it's like so much has happened. Obviously, there's like has been a roller coaster in the early days, going from starting off alone, being in that little kind of like finding your way in a world that you have no idea of how it works, to a global company now with more than 300 people is pretty mind-blowing, and I think difficult to process really. You know, it needs those moments to reflect, to really think about what's really happening, and it's sometimes hard to really summarize how this journey was, but it was really transformative for myself. It was so far an incredibly learning experience. I think that's really what it is. You know, it's just like a learning experience that you cannot sign up for in a school or something. You know, you really have to live through it to experience it fully.
I mean, how does one deal with that? I mean, you said you need to, sometimes it might catch you, you know, oh, here I am, you know, this is where we're going. But do you take some time to actually reflect? Is there any kind of moments where, I know it's not just like I'm out walking with the kids, or, you know, it just hits me and I'm like, wow. Do you actually take some time to sit and reflect?
It's difficult when you are not having these special moments. I mean, obviously, when I'm at home, I try to concentrate on my family and try to live my private life. I'm pretty strict.
Yeah, that's great.
Kind of cut when I'm home versus when I'm working. That's also why I spend like most of the time in the office and not at home. I kind of need that split. But there is moments when you do that reflection the most. At least I feel like I'm doing it the most. And the moments are when we meet, like as a company, when everyone comes to Switzerland once a year, to where you see, basically everyone expects me to say a few words, obviously. And then you have the people all in front of you, and you're like, damn, what happened? We created a monster. Yeah. No, but it's a very humbling experience to see that like so many people are following you on that journey, and obviously, you know, you need someone being the head person to the public somewhat and at the helm of the company, but we all know that this company is not built by myself, it's built by so many people. So but yeah, these are moments then whenever you do like fundraisers and you have these big milestones, that's like very humbling moments as well. And always when I'm actually in these big cities, you know, whether it's London or New York where we have offices, especially in New York, where I'm going to be next week as well, it's like I live in that small city called St. Gallen, with 80,000 people. I live next to the forest and a very down-to-earth life, very local somehow. And when I'm in New York, we're right in the middle of everything, right? It's super global, it's super international. I always come back so energized, and I love this contrast.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm there, I feel like I can grab the whole world somehow. And I always feel like we've barely started when I'm in New York. And then I take that energy back and then ground it again in that very Swiss kind of, you know, very, very hold back kind of, grounded life somehow.
I mean, we're in Soho right now. I imagine you get a similar kind of vibe, flair, energy.
Very similar.
Just
very
walking
similar.
around today. I mean, we're also on a little bit of a journey as well, you know, building the company. That's why it's always super interesting to talk to founders as well and get that kind of feedback. You're many steps ahead So it's good to kind of
yeah,
to
I
kind
still
of
feel like a child sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Knows
I mean,
nothing.
the same for us. I mean, we were like, I think it hit us again today. It was like, whoa, when we were walking through Heathrow, like, okay, we've taken a little step further, and it's a very exciting one. And yeah, it's always really cool to hear that as well, that you're still going on that journey.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, when you are listening to the successful founders out there and the CEOs and so on, it all is like lots of shiny things and bells and whistles. But I mean, in my conversations that I have with most of them, it feels like, it's very hard because you kind of have to play a role at a certain point in time when you reach a certain size. But most of them are still pretty insecure in what they're doing and still like finding their way and learning. And I mean, you can make it look like you know what you're doing, but then in the end, you don't really know what you're doing. And you just try and, obviously with a lot of experience in the background, but it's everyone's just a human being,
I think that's also testament as well to touch on the next question, which is culture. But it's testament, I think, to why people, from what we've realized or how we've kind of come in contact with Frontify, with talking with the people who work for you, why they have such good and high regards towards yourself, and also the company as well as a whole. And I think it's that humbleness and that transparency that you don't know everything. I think that also is signs of a great leader. Like to say that I don't know everything. I need you guys around me to help to circumnavigate where we're going. There's that old kind of age-old thing of surround yourself with people that are better than you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I never feel that I know something. I mean, I'm also a character somehow, and have my opinions, and I think that's important too.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think whenever you start to feel somewhat complacent, and you think there is not so much more to learn, it's a difficult moment.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
We always need to keep learning and be open to learning for sure. So the vibe here is really, really cool, right? So we've had the chance to meet Digger,
Our Swedish expert,
and Richie as well. So those are three of the people that we've come face to face with, and I mean, they've all been so fantastic to us.
Great
come
people.
With great spirits and fly the flag incredibly well for you with honor and pride as well. But they do it from the heart. And that's my question, really. It's about culture here. And what does culture mean for you?
Yeah, we get asked this quite a lot, and it's always hard to describe. I mean, in the end, you probably have to ask the people because they experience it every day. I also do, but I somewhat am biased, obviously. I think the culture is really a people-first culture. We try to, even we're on a growth journey, which is not making things always easy. Because when you grow from 10 to 50 to 100 to 200 to 300 people, a lot of things change. And I think it's something that a lot of companies struggle with. And I mean, we also struggle, but I think we have managed to somewhat keep that DNA from the beginning still alive, even though we grew quite massively over time. And for me, I always say, like, when I meet people and I see them in the office or remote, and I feel like they are smiling and they really enjoy being part of that story, and they truly are from the bottom of their heart, not because of, because it's me or because of it's about, the next step in the career or something, because they kind of have to. But if I feel that authenticity about, like, just good people, it's something very easily said, good people. But it's not so common always, that you have like such a high density, I think, of good people.
Yeah.
Which we always try to focus on hiring good people with good skills, obviously, but not necessarily the ones with, like just have the world-class skills, but are not good people or not necessarily interested in being surrounded with good people. And that's very different to some other companies. And I think the authenticity, the humbleness, and the humbleness per se, I think is a bit of a Swiss kind of thing.
Okay.
I think it comes a bit from that. Maybe also from me as a person, sure, that has an impact too. But we then created this kind of culture with the first 50 to 100 people. I think they have been instrumental in shaping what Frontify really is in the DNA. And then after 100 people, you cannot really destroy that core DNA. It evolves over time and it gets changed, but it still is rooted in that core understanding of what kind of company you want to build. And that was important for us since the beginning.
Okay. Cool. Let's rewind a little bit, right? Let's rewind right back to the beginning, because I want to talk to you a little bit about brand. So you say you're not a designer, that's what we talked about, but you have a passion and a love for design and brand, of course. But you were the one who was responsible for the first branding of Frontify, right? You designed the logo.
Partially, I would say, partially.
But you built the foundations, right? You kind of decided on, I would imagine you decided on the name and also
Yes.
the initial kind of trajectory of how the brand should look.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you is, how does that differ, building your own brand, from working with such a renowned studio as Design Studio? I can imagine it being polar opposites, but you went through the experience and that roots experience of owning your first interpretation of the brand all the way up to giving it away to somebody else to have their interpretation of that. What was that experience like for you?
I think, in the end, when we started off, brand wasn't at the very center of what we did in the early days. It was more rooted in the idea of bringing together designers and technical people and business people in this one central place. And then the idea kind of evolved over time with the market feedback and so on, and became what it is today, where brand played a way more crucial role. And I've always been such a big fan of like amazing brands back in the days long before I started the company. And I think for our own company, at least in the early days, I didn't really focus a lot of time on building our own brand from a visual perspective, to be honest. And we didn't have a designer in the early days, and I kind of had to do it all on my own.
Yeah.
And I want to be good enough for doing that, but I then also quickly realized I'm not. And we had help in the early days. The first logo, I drew something on paper, and then a guy from an agency helped basically design the original logo, which was a set of leaves, I think, from a tree.
I think I remember that. We did some research.
I drew, I think in the beginning I drew a tree for whatever reason. I don't know why.
It's always the go-to, the roots, the growing.
I don't know. And then in the tree you had like a million little icons about stuff.
That's very sweet.
That you want to bring together, like designer specifications and code and stuff.
Yeah.
That was in that tree. It was basically then the three pieces, like design, development, and business.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can also say technology, creativity, and business, which was brought together by Frontify.
Yeah.
And I think when we then chose Design Studio to rework that, we were way more mature. We really felt like we matured so much as a company. We way more know now what we wanted to create. And we developed that vision over time, and we had a way better understanding of where you want to go, because in the early days, you just try different things. You don't really know. Some stuff is working, some is not. So you need a little bit of time to understand what you truly want to do and what you truly want to achieve. And we really felt that with the maturity of the company, we needed a great partner to extract, that beautiful kind of DNA and that beautiful new vision, and then create something that everyone can understand. And that was extremely transformational for the company. And it's only 10% is the actual logo or, some visuals that are connected to it. So much more is in the strategy, in the vision statement, in the tone of voice, and in all these things that then truly matter for how you run the company. And so that was really, really important for us.
I mean, that's really the essence of brand.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And
but we also had to learn that, somehow, because we were not brand experts from day one. I think now we can call ourselves brand expert, not by building brands, but by understanding brands really well.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important step in the life of a company and a brand to always invest into getting that crystal clear, because it will simplify everything you do in your daily life.
Amen to that. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. This is the most boring question out of the whole interview, but I have to ask it because we've already talked about the past and the present. The next thing really is the future. Mm-hmm. Many topics, AI topics, lots of different things, lots of different toolings. The world is changing. Where does Frontify fit into all of this, and what are the next steps? Where are you going? Maybe short term, long term. What's your kind of vision for the future?
So I'm a kind of I try to always come up with a very clever strategy. It's obviously the plan, and then it's very hard to understand if it's going to be a reality or not. But I think AI plays obviously a role in all of that, and we know it. For me, it's only part of the equation. You always, when you run such a company, there is a lot of elements to it that are more scaling related. Like scaling the company is a big challenge. You have to maintain the culture. You have to, grow financials and stuff like that. That's part of the game anyway. Then we have the product, where we think AI might have a pretty strong influence in certain aspects of the product, but not only. We have a pretty strong product strategy where I think have not yet come close to being done with what we want to create. And I think when thinking about AI, for me it's more a realization of you going a step back and understanding what's the essence of what you do as a company. What's truly unique to the data that you own, for example. In our case, it's brand guidelines and the DNA of those companies that we work with. Then it's the assets that they have with us, and it's the people that work with us. From a customer side, it's our own people. So these are things that are very hard to replicate. So it's something no one else has, and we believe that AI will change everything, to be honest, everything, truly. And we can only take our space in that new world when we really understand how we can leverage that data that we have, which truly makes us unique, and combine it with that technology. And I think when you look at AI and its generic nature somewhat, which we all know it's not truly the case, because it can be extremely expressive, it can be very creative, it can be very unique. But having it know the DNA of what makes you special. So what makes Frontify special? What makes Coca-Cola special? if AI understands this DNA completely, and it understands what has been done in the past, what has been done well, what has been done wrong when it comes to brand, and it has all that context, then it's an order of magnitude stronger and more useful than if it's just purely generic. So what everyone else would get out of it anyway. So we think we are in a good position to fuel that development, to help people connect the dots, to bring in that context and make the most out of new technology. And besides AI, I think there is just, we've barely, got a significant part of the market yet. I mean, if you talk about the US, we still are like at a similar size in terms of customers that we have in Switzerland, that we have in the US.
All right.
So it's still like, obviously Switzerland is our home turf and we're really strong, but in the US there's just so much more we can achieve, and in Europe as well, and in Asia. And so there's just like, we really feel like we have a tiny bit done of our journey.
Yeah.
And that's exciting, I think.
Yeah, Jan and I were talking about Frontify as a concept. So let's take away the word Frontify and just the brand platform as you guys have kind of developed it. Obviously, there are other companies developing similar tools, but we couldn't imagine the world now without this tool, whether it's Frontify or whoever comes along. And I think it's a really great space for brands. And to be honest, it was well overdue. They needed a kick up the ass, to be honest. They've all been talking about digitization for such a long time. This was definitely a step in the right direction for bringing them up to speed, more so. So thank you for that. Thank you also for making our lives a lot easier. I end up being somewhat of a testimonial for these products just by default because it just makes sense.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So let's leave Frontify to one side for the moment because I'd actually like to get to know, I've had the pleasure of spending a bit of time with you and kind of getting to know you a little bit. But I thought it'd be super interesting for our viewers also to kind of get to know a little bit about the man, the entrepreneur, the guy with the ideas who's actually making this happen. And I have a couple of questions just to ask you based on that. With all the kind of pressure and stress and also the results and things that are happening at the moment for you, is there anything that you do as a routine or a habit that helps you to stay focused?
So, I mean, there's the family first,
You get up at 5, do you have ice baths, do you have all these crazy things?
I'm a pretty boring person when it comes to my private life, I believe. It's a pretty like boring kind of Swiss family life somewhat. No, but I enjoy a lot of different things. For example, I'm always in the football stadium in my local city, which I go with my son, which I can, shout at the ref when there is like a bad decision that they make. So I can basically throw out all my pain and anger to the ref. Then I also found like a little thing. I think I told you about it once earlier about music. I'm if you ask some of the people in the company, they would say like I'm pretty bad at choosing good music. Okay. But funny enough, I found my way into music production for some reason, and it became my little therapy session. So whenever I kind of pretty much every day do like an hour or so of like jamming on like hardware, synthesizers and sequencers and stuff. So it's a bit of nerdy stuff, but it's fun because you kind of have to get yourself into full like focus mode. It somewhat ties back to my roots of being a programmer, you know, like a developer. So it's very mathematical and very logical, but then also very creative. And it's instant and it's very much in the moment. So you don't create it for achieving anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like for you. There is no goal of releasing something or whatever. It's just in the moment. And that's very rewarding and helps me a lot to process things and not to think about it, but more like to get back energy.
Yeah. So there's no gigs planned?
No gigs planned. No, nothing.
No. Do you even have a name?
No name, nothing. No, it's really like, it's basically pretty bad stuff, to be honest. It's pretty bad stuff.
Okay.
No one wants to listen to it, but that's okay. And it's...
Yeah, but there's a genre for that. I mean, if you look at Aphex Twin, Square Pusher...
Yeah, well, these guys are amazing.
I mean, they're amazing, but you don't really want to sit and listen to it for hours and hours.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
something
tough.
you have on a Sunday, right? Whilst you're vacuuming the house. So there's definitely, I'm sure, space in music for you to experiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of amazing brands in that space which I discovered, which I didn't know before, you know, like Electron is one of those, and Moog is one of the other ones, and obviously Teenage Engineering is another one.
For sure. Yeah, classic.
So many amazing brands who create like these beautiful products, which, it's just like also this passion to those brands and beautiful things is motivating.
Maybe that's something for, just talking now, for Frontify, maybe moving forward. I mean, sonic branding is a thing. I mean,
we have actually talked a lot about sonic branding in the past, and there is actually a lot of stuff going on in that area. So we have few customers who make their sound libraries within Frontify as well. Right. We have limited capabilities regarding that, but there's more to come. But yeah, I think sonic branding is an essential piece for a mature brand.
Absolutely. Finally, we were at the Paradigms this year. We had an amazing time.
Glad you were there.
So cool. I got to meet some of my heroes. There is a video called Don't Meet Your Heroes, actually from the Paradigm that we made. So check that out. I'll leave the link above for you to watch at your leisure. But we had such a great time. And we just wondered if there are any insights that you can share with us that you may have planned for the upcoming Paradigm for next year, because we need to know a little bit, because we're super excited, because we're going to be there for the next one 100%.
You know, the fun thing is I really don't have any, because
fantastic.
You know, the good thing is in the first year when we did Paradigms for the first time, it was such a tough thing to kick off, you know, like to get like the audience and the speakers and, you know, like super nerve, like the location and everything. We were like so stressed out about it. Second year already, the team took it off like way easier and like on a very high level. And the fun thing is I like surprises, and they don't tell me, they don't even tell me what they're gonna do next year. So I have.
Roger, get on the stage. Say something now.
You know, I think we can definitely look forward to an amazing lineup. We will again have an amazing location, which I haven't seen yet, but everyone knows where the bar is, and we'll raise it again. And I'm pretty sure, or my guess would be that it's again like a similar kind of vibe. So there's a few places that I have in mind where it could be.
Okay.
But I honestly don't know. That's the thing. I really don't know.
All right, then.
You have to ask Dige. She knows probably.
Okay. Then, watch this space. Keep it like mysterious. I think that's also kind of cool in a way. It's
such a special thing, you know. Like the conversations I had there were so. I mean, it's my heroes too.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Similar to you is like, you know, when Lisa from JKR was there, and you know, I mean Brian anyway from Collins, and like, I mean, these are my heroes too, and I'm like a little child when I walked with Lisa to the venue, and I was like so like a little child who wants to get the signature on the shirt.
When I met Brian Collins, you were
Yeah,
there.
I was there.
You
Yeah, I saw
witnessed
the authentic excitement.
The thing is, Brian's about this big and I'm this big, but in reality, I was like this, looking up at him. I was the little boy. Which was
That's
just
beautiful.
super cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I think this is exactly what we want to achieve with the event. It's like creating those experiences. If I hear these stories or see these stories and have like speakers talking to each other and like all these connections being created, that's what it's all about. And bringing people together is still, I think, the number one thing we want to achieve, especially in today's world.
Absolutely. Amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for having us here and taking some time.
And keep up the great YouTube channel. I think it's going to be big.
Let's see. We do our best.
You do great.
So yeah, as Roger says, please continue watching. And if you've got this far, thank you so much for tuning in and watching Roger and I talk brand and Frontify. And all the things I promised in the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe. It really helps us to continue making content like this and growing the channel. Like it, share it with other people that you think may be interested in such topics. And as always, we will see you in the next one. Peace. Thanks, man. Awesome.
Thank you. Amazing.